Hello, I'm Attila, the developer of VamporiumSURFACE. VamporiumSURFACE is a small system that allows you to create a big variety of surfaces by using only one shader and one material, thus dramatically reducing the draw cost of your rendering. The used shader was made in Shader Graph, so this will work only in the universal and high definition render pipelines. The easiest way to set a surface up is to select one of your mesh renderers in your scene, give it the provided material, and add the surface simple component to it. Then in the inspector you can set these values to your liking. This is not the most productive way to set up multiple mesh renderers, so let's look at other, more efficient ways to do it. If we have multiple mesh renderers we want to apply our surface to, just put the surface simple on a parent of all mesh renderers in question, and for apply mode select myself and children. However, usually you might want to have multiple surfaces in one model. This is very easily achievable, but I need to introduce you to surface infos first. A surface info is an asset that will hold all the surface settings found on the surface simple component. To create one, I right click on the folder I want to create it in, choose Create VamporiumSURFACE, and in this case Info Simple, and name it as you wish. I'll create a few more. Then I go to my model and set the material of all mesh renderers to the provided material. Next, I'll create a game object in my model to hold the surfaces. This is not required, I do it only for organizational purposes. Then instead of the surface simple component, I'll add the few surface with info components. One for each surface info I want to use on the meshes of this model. Then I drag the surface info references into the components and choose the specific mesh filter apply mode. And finally, drag the meshes for each surface into the components mesh filters list. Now comes the fun part. Set up each surface info as you wish. If I would like to use these surfaces on some tiles, the same color can look a bit boring, so a little color variation would be welcome. This is very easy to do. I use only one surface to demonstrate it. I've created a ground here made of a tile prefab. Inside the prefab I'll add the surface with info component, and I set apply mode to myself and children. Next, when I want to create the surface info, this time I'll choose surface info random HSV. Name it and drag it into the surface with info component as a reference. Now onto this new mysterious surface info. This one has a randomized HSV and a mode under each color of the surface settings. HSV stands for hue, saturation and value, which in fact is brightness. So this will enable us to vary up any color by its hue, saturation and brightness. For this example, I set the hue variation to a really small number to achieve a nice subtle effect. Lastly, I choose the random both mode. I'll talk about this in a minute. Unfortunately, due to Unity's technical limitations, while not in play mode, we see that all the tiles have the same randomized color. To test it out, we need to hit play. There we go. Quickly, I'll demonstrate randomizing the other values of the randomized HSV as well. Since we are using assets to store our surfaces settings, we don't have to worry about our changes not being saved when exiting play mode. One more setting is left to see, the mode of the randomization. I'll demonstrate this on the brightness to see exactly what we're doing. The mode simply decides how the randomization is calculated. If it is set to none, there will be no randomization applied. Random both means it can shift the brightness both up and down. The other two modes are really self-explanatory now. So, this was a short demonstration of VamporiumSURFACE and its use. Further information can be found in the assets documentation.